Hey everyone, Kunik here, back with a few D&D horror stories for you today, and the second story is by far the most controversial story I have ever chose to read on this channel. Let's just say that it involves the riots at the US Capitol last week, and I can already hear the furious tappings at your phone and keyboard in the comments section, so hold up, temper your fury, and wait for me to read the story first. Then we can discuss it in the comments. But you're going to have to wait on that, because the first story is a little different. So with that all said, let's roll for initiative and begin the stories. Story number 1. DM tries to throw me out of the game. I have been playing with my current group for over 2 years, and we have all become very good friends. Our normal DM was taking a break, and one of our other players offered to run a small campaign in his stead. So we all made new characters. And I was playing a corn-fed country boy turned insane paladin. And as such, I was the tank. The campaign started off great, and we were all having fun. About 3 sessions in, I noticed that the DM, who I will refer to from now on as Dave, kept snubbing my attempts at role-playing with the NPCs. I would make an attempt, and he would either have that NPC just brush me off, or he would just talk over me to the others. At this point, thanks to some quick thinking on our rogue's part, we had a significant amount of gold, and as we were doing our shopping, I decided to see what magical items Jay could potentially purchase. I was offered things that were ridiculously expensive, or things that I had no need of, so I just kept looking. Then Dave tells me that there is a flame-tongue longsword at this shop, and after some heckling, I managed to bargain for it by paying over 2,000 gold and giving him my psychic hammer and 2 potions of level 5 fireball. We ended the session soon after, and I was extremely happy because we were only level 4, and this was a huge boost to my combat effectiveness. Fast forward to next session, and we are doing a dungeon crawl, and Dave decided that it would be a good idea to send a Balgura after me. I guessed he was trying to kill my character, but oh well. Our Grave Domain Cleric used her channeled divinity to cure the demon, making it vulnerable to all damage from the next attack. My turn rolls around, and for starters, used a bonus action to cast Thunderous Smite and attacked. I crit, so I dumped a Divine Smite on top of this, doing a total of 127 points of damage and almost instantly killing it. We continued on, and I stopped to use the washroom, and when I come back, Dave tells me my flame tongue has powered down and won't ignite. Had another fight immediately, and I barely survived. After casting Detect Magic on my sword, Dave informs me it is no longer magical and has lost all power. He then ended the session. I was kinda upset, so I immediately asked him what he used on the sword, but all he would say is I don't have to explain myself to you. I tried talking to him more, but then he just sent me an entire paragraph about how I was continually disrespecting him and everyone else, and how other players were telling him that if I was playing, they didn't want to. So I asked the rest of the group, and when they all gave a hard denial of ever saying that, I asked who said it. At which point, he said that we were never friends, and he just had to put up with me the last 2 years on a weekly basis because I entered the campaign after he did. So I told the group what was happening, and after some discussion, he was removed from the group. Keep in mind that everyone is in their 20s except for Dave, who was nearly 50. He wouldn't apologize and just kept saying this is how I am, deal with it, it's him or me, and all that jazz. After they removed him, I messaged him privately and said I'm sorry we couldn't work things out, and hoped he found something he could enjoy. Then he proceeded to cuss me out and tell me to duck off, how he hated me, and on and on. The worst part is, I never knew why he didn't bring it up sooner, or what I did to make him hate me so. Still confused and a little hurt. Yeah, this one's a little tough. First off, it's kind of odd that, one player is so much older than the other players, without apparently being related to any of them. I played in campaigns where the DM was one of the players' dads, and that made perfect sense, but here it is kind of weird. But not to judge him by his age or anything like that, we're gonna only stick to his actions. And those weren't right. Trying to make the player think that every other person at the table didn't want to play with him is kind of a jerk move. Now, initially, I thought maybe if he had asked the players, they would have just been nice and denied it, when secretly they believed it. But the fact that they went along and removed Dave from the table makes me think that they truly were blindsided by what he said Dave had said to them. And ultimately, it was probably best for them to have all split ways after this came to light. Anyhow, that's it for this story. Onwards to story number 2. DM tries to use D&D to convince us to support the riots at the US Capitol. I've been playing with this group for about 3 years now, and from the beginning, we knew we had political differences. 2 of the other players and I are fairly left-leaning to decently far-left liberals. One of the players is conservative, but only a little, and the DM is a far right-wing conservative. Trump is the best president of all time kind of guy. He has said, in all seriousness, that Donald Trump should be president for life because he's that great. However, like any group of adults, we realized early on that no one in our group would change the other's minds, and so we just moved on and decided to leave politics out of D&D, as it should be. That lasted until our session on January 10th, 2021. The campaign we're currently going through has lasted about a year and a half or so, and it's been one of the best D&D campaigns I've ever played in. I'll spare the details, but essentially the goal has been to find my character's 4 siblings. All 5 of us are genocide, so that we can get their help to overthrow our father, a Jinn who has taken control of the elemental plane of air and created us to be living weapons for him. Luckily for us, Samarakra on the airplane rescued us from him when we were kids and hid us in various places on the material plane for the last 16 years. We started off with me hiring the other players to help me find my siblings, and each time we've convinced one to join us, the DM has allowed one of the players to take control of the sibling as their new character, if they prefer the new sibling to their original character. It's been a lot of fun, and he's made a really vivid and unique world, which was why the session on the 10th sucked so much. At this point, we had convinced 3 of my 4 siblings to join us, and we had figured out where my last brother was. We figured we would have a really hard time convincing Thren, the brother, to come with us, since he had apparently gotten married and had a child in this time on the material plane. He was the oldest brother. He was 29 by the time we found him. Not to worry, we all said. We've convinced 3 of my siblings to leave their lives behind for the sake of a greater cause. We can do it one more time. No problem. We arrive in Hardale, the city where Thyren is living, and immediately we can tell that the DM has rewritten this section of the adventure since January 6th. Instead of finding Thyren spending time with his family, or at work, or doing anything normal, when we get there, we find that he is preparing to lead a coup of the government. Interesting, but okay, let's roll with it. He's got that revolutionary spirit in mind already, and I guess we're pretty much trying to do the same thing, but on a different plane, so no big deal. We ask him what's going on, and he explains that the current president is the best leader Hardale has ever had. He's put up walls to keep the city safe, and he's kicked all the evil tieflings, drow, and goblins out, because they're all evil. Everyone loves him, and when the election came, every single person in the city voted for him, because he's just that awesome. But, oh no, the evil other party cheated. They changed the vote count, and made it seem like President Awesome McRacistface lost. How horrible! If their candidate becomes president, he's going to take away every sword, bow, and magic user in the city. He'll knock down the wall. He'll let the drow, goblins, and tiefling back in. This is unacceptable. So basically, the DM proceeds to try to railroad us into participating in this coup. Thyren won't come with us to go deal with the Jinn, no matter what we say, unless we help him make sure that President Awesome McRacistface is president forever, and help exile or kill anyone who disagrees, because they're obviously evil. And that is where we all collectively took a deep breath, packed up our dice and character sheets, and left. Now, I understand having strong feelings about politics. I myself have very strong feelings about the current political climate, which probably leaked through into this post. But I hope they didn't because of what I'm about to say. But no matter what you believe, You should not bring real-life politics into a D&D game unless every single person at the table says they're okay with it. The DM knew for a fact that 4 of us players did not want to discuss politics at all, and yet this happened. D&D is supposed to be an escape from the worries and struggles of the real life. So, whatever you do not carry those worries into D&D. Shame 2. Up until that session, it had genuinely been the best campaign I've ever had the pleasure of participating in, by far. Okay, as he mentioned there, I am not going to discuss the political nature of this, which I understand is a little hard considering the entire preface of this being a horror story is the fact that it's political in nature. But what I will say is exactly what the OP said. Do not bring politics or anything else that may be construed as negative and from the real life into your games if you can avoid it. So this doesn't have to be politics. This can be racial issues. This can be rape. Any list of things that could potentially trigger one of your players should generally be avoided if they've made it clear that they do not want to discuss that at the table. And I would hope, no matter which side of the aisle you are on, you can agree that it was not appropriate to bring real-life politics into the story of this campaign that ruined an otherwise fantastically sounding campaign at nearly the climax of this story. It's a darn shame. And one simple request, please follow our Discord rules in the comments of this YouTube video. Political discussion is not allowed on the Discord server, and I would prefer to keep that the same here in our YouTube comments. It's very easy to get emotional and brought up with rage, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, and we really should avoid that in this video. I wanted to cover this story because it is so relatable to current events, and how it is a case of what not to do if you are DMing a story. I didn't pick it for any other reason. I'm not trying to share my political beliefs or spread anything like that. I'm just trying to share a message. Please, if you are running a campaign, do not do this. Anyhow, that is it for today's video. If you like the stories, the sources to them are in the description below. And if you like the video and you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon in order to be notified of my future videos. And as just a small portion of you are subscribed to my videos, it would mean the world of me for you to do so in order to keep the channel growing. Anyhow, while you wait for my future videos, here are a few related videos that you can watch from my channel in the meantime.
I ain't no politician, son.